Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shop Talk number 41. I'm your host, Robert O'Brien. Thank you for tuning in today, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here during the live stream. Thank you to Jim Damon for the wonderful theme music there. Jim is a wonderful fingerstyle player right here in Berthoud, Colorado. Go check out his website, jimsguitar.com, and you'll see some fantastic finger playing. And by the way, word on the street has it that Jim will be giving a few house concerts at the O'Brien Guitars shop this year, later in the year. So if you're in the area, or if you're coming to Trevor Gore's masterclass, then you can catch Jim during a live show. Got a lot of folks tuned in already. Louisiana, rainy Louisiana. Alexander from Spokane, Washington. Larry Jones from Austin. Paco, all the way there in Ubia, Spain. Thank you for tuning in. Paco. Let's see, who else we got here? We got Brian from Connecticut, Alberta, Canada. I always have a lot of Canadians on here. There's Construtor Musical, Luceria de Pobre, all the way down there in Brazil. Louisville, Kentucky, Illinois. Rich Haas there in Colorado. By the way, Rich, did you see the snowflakes this morning? We had big snowflakes coming down here at my place in Parker, Colorado. High is going to be about 52 degrees. It's going to be sunny today. It's going to be a beautiful day here in Colorado. Anyway, thank you for everybody for tuning in. If you want to be a part of today's drawing, we're going to be giving away a signed hat by the master himself, Bob Benedetto. So if you want to be eligible for that, U.S. participants only, please, because we don't want to have to ship it international. So U.S. participants only. Click on the link that's in the chat box there, and you'll be eligible for the drawing. Also, if you have any questions throughout the stream here, go ahead and put it in the chat box. I'll try and accompany the chat box here and see if we can put the questions on the screen here for Damon and Rodrigo, who are my guests today from Benedetto Guitars. Let's see, what else we got? Announcements. Let's go over to the O'Brien Guitars and Luthier Academy website, and you will see we've got a brand new course coming up, semi-hollow body with Brazilian luthier João Casillas. I was in Brazil last year in São Paulo. We took a couple of weeks and we filmed it at his shop. This is a very iconic guitar, blues, rock, I mean, you name it, you can do it. And it's very similar to the Gibson 335 type model, with some creative liberties taken by João himself. The fun thing about this course is that this is a fun class. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of experience, doesn't take a lot of tools. I mean, you can build your own electric guitar, and João will show you how to do that. That should be out here in the next 2 to 3 days, as soon as Cesar gets back from the middle of the Amazon. By the way, Cesar's not going to be with us today. Cesar and Manuela, they just sent me a picture here a few minutes ago. Take a look at this. They are on their way to the middle of the Amazon, where they are going to be restoring a harpsichord. Now, many people don't know it, but Cesar and Manuela are very famous in Brazil. They are a duo. They do Baroque music on harpsichords and Baroque violin. They travel all over Brazil putting on concerts, and they also restore harpsichords. So they're on their way to the middle of the Amazon. So unfortunately, they won't be with us live. However, Cesar has told me that if he gets enough of a signal up there, he's going to, yeah, look at that. He just commented, hello from Belém, Pará, Brazil. Yes, I'm for today, 1,600 miles from home. So yeah, he is in the chat box. However, I can't bring him on screen. So everybody say hello to Cesar up there in the Amazon. So new course coming up. I just talked about that. Also, we just launched some recent courses. We've got the Gypsy Jazz Guitar Building course. We've got the CNC Electric Guitar Neck with Bob Mizak. In addition to all of the other courses. By the way, people all the time ask me, how do you build a guitar in 6 days? Well, I filmed my acoustic guitar building course and my classical guitar building course that I do in 6 days here in my shop. And those are available on the Luthier Academy website. You can see there, just click on the link. Also, my most updated French polish methods are in those 2 courses. So if you're into the 2-day French polish method, that's where you can do it. Some announcements. Let's check out the sponsors on the Luthier Academy website. Folks, let's keep these guys in business so they can keep us in business. Acoustic Coffee, Pacific Rim Tone Woods, StewMac, Total Vice, Glue Boost, Elevate Luthier, and Royal Lac. They make our lives a lot easier as luthiers, and so I would like to keep them in business. Also, they help keep the lights on here at O'Brien Guitars and the Luthery Academy. A new course coming up that I'm just finishing the editing on is a dovetail course, a deep dive into dovetails, all things dovetail. This is taught by Canadian Luther Charles Tauber, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name there, Charles, but that is coming up. Compound angle dovetails, simple sliding dovetails, bolt-on dovetails, I mean, you name it. This is a deep dive into everything dovetail. So if you're a dovetail enthusiast, this will be coming out soon. Everything you need to know about dovetails. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, another quick announcement. I will be at the Mark Adams School of Woodworking in September and the first part of October for a 5-day inlay class and a 2-day French polish class. If you want to study inlay with me or my French polish method, contact the Mark Adams School of Woodworking. You can do a Google search, pull them up, and you can register for my class. Trevor Gore will be at the Luthery Academy and the O'Brien Guitars Workshop here in October. We have been doing this for about 7 or 8, 9 years now. He comes all the way from Sydney. I set up 2 classes for him, 2 3-day classes. This year we had so much interest, we did a third class, and I had one person in the first class cancel. So if you want that spot, I've got one spot available in the first class. It will be in October. So go ahead and contact me, email me, phone me, whatever. And if you want that spot, you can have it. Trevor Gore's books, a lot of people have been asking about his contemporary design and build books. They're out of print. They are now at the printer, and I'm happy to report that probably sometime here in May, they will be available. There you go. I think that concludes all of the announcements that I have. Let's bring on the head luthier and production manager at the Benedetto Guitar Company, all the way down there in Savannah, Georgia. And let me just figure out how to unmute him here. There we go. And here comes Damon Mailand. How you doing this morning, Damon?
Doing well. How are you?
Great. Good round of applause. There we go. Now, we have been doing some testing over the last day or two. Damon and Rodrigo Gomes, who's a new addition to the staff there at Benedetto Guitars, we've been doing some testing. They are on a cell phone right now with Wi-Fi in the shop. So it's going to be a little choppy, but it looks like the audio is pretty good. And they're going to do some demos for us. But first, let me let Damon introduce himself, and then you can introduce what you want to do as far as demos. Take it away, Damon.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. I'm Damon Mailand. I'm head luthier and production manager here at Benedetto. I've been with Benedetto Guitars for, I guess, almost 18 years. I've worked in every department of the shop and now oversee a very talented crew that makes these guitars since Bob's retirement.
Fantastic. And what kind of demos are you going to do for us today?
Well, we have a side bending jig that we'd like to talk about a little bit, and then we might talk about bracing. We're going to show you everything we currently have on the bench, basically.
Perfect.
We can show you our brace fitting method, our brace carving method, and maybe get into a little bit of top carving as well.
Okay, well, perfect. I'll let you decide which one you want to do first. I'll monitor the chat box. If anybody has any questions about any of the demos or things going on there at Benedetto Guitars, put it in there and I'll feed it over to Damon and Rodrigo. So take it away.
All right. Well, I'm going to flip the camera around and let's talk to Rodrigo. He's going to do the first demo for you.
Okay.
Okay. Hi.
Good morning, Rodrigo. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. Good. Pretty good here. Introduce myself. I'm Rodrigo Gomes. I'm from Brazil and now living here in Savannah, Georgia, and work for Benedetto Guitars. I've been here almost 1 year. Now in May is going to be 1 year, May 29. And I've been working with Dan Erlewine, and I studied with Dale Unger, and my passion is making archtop guitars. So here's where I end up.
Fantastic. All right, round of applause for Rodrigo. Go ahead, Rodrigo.
Okay, I'm going to show you about this bending machine that when I got here, I thought this was a brilliant idea because back in Brazil, I was trying to figure out how to put this thing on something like on the bench that I had no idea how to put it on the bench, or I had like a post to support this, and then I was moving these around the shop in some corners. But here at Benedetto, something that is really simple. Just there is like another um, piece of wood, MDF here on the
Mhm.
bottom that you can just clamp on your bench, and when you finish, you can put some shelves, whatever, underneath your bench, and this is pretty cool. And here's the sides that we are gonna bench. This is a very beautiful maple. I'll try to move some stuff here. Just gonna spray some water.
Folks, I'm sorry about the choppiness going on here, but they are on Wi-Fi on cell phones, so you guys kind of piece it together in your mind there, and they'll give you a good description with the audio. I also see something on the bench behind you there that I also have in my bench while Rodrigo's getting set up there. I'll go back to me.
What's that?
Ah, here it is. Look at that. I love
There we
this.
go. Yeah, it's a great neck rest.
This is great for holding the guitar in both the horizontal and vertical position. Man, I use this thing all the time. Get a lot of comments about it too from my students. I like the idea of the bender being kind of offset of the bench like that. That makes it easy.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's offset of the bench. That's the easiest thing. So you clamp here, you have space to bend it. It's not, if the side's gonna hit your bench and stay on your way. That's pretty cool.
And we've got 8 or 10 different shapes, a bender for each shape underneath one bench. So they're very compact to store. Works out pretty well.
Let me ask a couple of questions here. First of all, you're bending maple. What's the thickness of the maple?
We bend at 85 thousandths.
85 thousandths, okay. And the sandwich that you've made there, it looks like you've got 2 pieces of spring steel and 2 blankets. Is that correct?
Correct. There's a blanket below and above the side, and there's this is actually brass stock that sandwiches the heat blanket, which helps reinforce the bend a little bit and distribute the heat evenly. I know some people use spring steel or various materials, but this works out pretty well for us.
Okay. And we have a question coming in from Gavin. He says, curious their thoughts on bending with Windex versus water. Now, a lot of people use Windex because of the ammonia. They say it softens the cells and the fibers and stuff. Do you have any thoughts on that, Damon or Rodrigo?
I don't. I've never tried it. Rodrigo, have you?
That this mineralized water that sometimes just burn the wood like regular water do.
Okay.
But I try it just once, but I was not make a lot of art stops. I just made one with imbuia. That's a wood from Brazil. That's already dark, so I didn't compare it exactly to make sure that there's a lot of difference on that.
Okay, but on your lighter colored wood, you are using distilled water. Is that what you said?
Currently, we're just using tap water here. I've tried distilled water and being ultra purified about everything, but it didn't really seem to make any difference to me, any noticeable difference.
Okay.
So we're just using tap water straight up.
Okay.
I have tried super soft veneer softener.
Right.
For bending sides, and that seems to work pretty well. But with the highly figured woods, it seems to soften them up to an extent that it's actually more likely to crack along the flame. So I kind of moved away from it. Also, it can burn off a little bit, and I'm a little bit concerned about the fumes that come off of the super soft.
Right. Okay. Boy, Rodrigo's getting after it there. He's already bent the back side and the waist. Now he's bending the upper bout. He doesn't play around, does he?
That's one of the many things we like about Rodrigo.
In Brazil, you know what they say about Rodrigo? They said that he doesn't play around. He was so serious that he quit school because of the recess. I'm kidding, Rodrigo. I'm kidding. Okay, Bruce is asking a question about the temperature. He says, what temperature do you start bending at and where do you finish? Do you control that temperature? Is there some type of temperature controller or you just turn it on and go full blast?
Yeah, like so many things that we do here, it's not very high tech. We got a heating blanket, and I forget the exact wattage on it, but you can get heating blankets in various wattages. We found one that I think is maybe 400 watts that works well and seems to be the temperature that we want to work with. So we don't have a controller or anything like that. It's pretty low tech and straightforward.
Perfect. Okay. Well, look at that. The man himself, Mr. Dan Earlywine, has just dialed in. Hi, Damon. Hi, Rod. Look at that. Thanks for tuning in, Dan. Hope everything's well. For those of you that don't know, Dan is very involved in the Ian Davlin's Luth group. And if you guys don't know about the Luth group, you need to learn about it. Do a Google search about the Luth group because they offer a lot of great content. And Dan is an integral part of that, along with Ian, Doug Proper, and a bunch of other people. So. Now, I notice you have a cutaway option on your bender, and it looks like it's a removable type cutaway.
Yeah, that's removable. You can take it off. I did that yesterday, so we left this part just to show you guys.
Perfect. Well, look at that.
Once we remove the cutaway portion there.
Go ahead, Damon.
Nope. Once we remove the cutaway portion, we've got some springs that we insert, and that helps reinforce the bend from the back and reduce breakage.
Nice. Very nice. Wow. Well, that was just textbook right there. Way to go, Rodrigo. Big round of applause for Rodrigo for not breaking the side.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't know if it's broken yet. We got to take it out, right? All right. Well, Damon's got set up now. He's going to do a demo. So I'll let you introduce your demo there, Damon. What you want to do?
Sure. So I was just going to show you our method of brace fitting. This is a carved top. When you're carving a top, unlike a laminate, it tends to be a little bit different every time, just by the nature of things. So you have to hand fit the braces. So I'm going to show you the old school technique of fitting braces. I'm going to start with a compass, and I'm going to set it to the largest gap, and I'll scribe the contour of the top onto the brace on both sides. When you're doing this, you want to be sure to keep that brace straight up and down. You don't want it leaning one way or the other. And that's important for a couple of reasons. This happens to be a parallel braced top, and it's going to have a built-in pickup. So I'm going to put cross braces in front of and behind that pickup opening to reinforce the hole, and also one under the bridge. So I need to fit those cross braces in between the two parallel braces, and if they're straight up and down, it makes that much easier. Even if you're doing a traditional X brace, you still have to fit that box joint, and that's much easier if your braces are straight up and down. So keep an eye on that.
What are the dimensions on your braces there, Damon?
So the rough stock is 5/16 of an inch wide by 7/8 tall.
And that's just a rough start that afterwards you take it down as you're voicing it?
That's right. I'll glue it in and then carve it down afterward.
Okay.
Okay, so there we go. You may be able to see that. We've got the lines scribed on both sides. Because of the arching of the top, they're going to be at different heights on the brace. At this point, I would take it to a bandsaw, make a rough cut, and then go to the belt sander, and angling the brace toward myself from either side, I would sand down right to the line, then take a chisel and carve out the remainder down the center of the brace, and then start hand fitting it against the top itself. And so that's the point I've taken this one to. It's rough down to the line. The middle material is gone and it's ready to start hand fitting. And if you've done everything right, so all of those steps are very quick. The hand fitting is what takes some time. So during the early steps, take your time with it and be as accurate as possible. It can make a big difference in how long it takes to hand fit from that point. If you've done everything right, your brace is sitting straight up and down. I can take a cam clamp and lock down one end. And the way I like to do it is just taking a piece of sandpaper. I'll start with 100 grit, and I'll work it under the free end. And then swap. I'll put the clamp over here and work the other end, and I'll go back and forth 2 or 3 times, whatever it takes. I'll finalize it with 150 grit, and that's it. It's ready to glue. There's no chalk marking or anything like that. You don't have to use carbon paper, and the fit is truly perfect when you get done.
Wow, just a couple of comments, Damon. First of all, instead of moving the brace, like I've seen a lot of people do, they put a piece of sandpaper on the top and move the brace. You actually make the brace stationary and then pull the sandpaper underneath it. That's fascinating. Very interesting.
Right.
And
yeah,
how long does it take you to fit a brace from start to finish?
If I'm careful during the belt sanding, it takes about 10 minutes of hand fitting, and it's done.
Wow. True professional there, folks.
From this point, once they're glued in, got another top here. So this one is X-braced. What you would traditionally see on most arch tops. And as you can see, the braces are oversized height-wise. The first brace to get glued in, I've notched down to its final height, and that gives me clearance to be able to plane the second brace off, which is what I'm going to do now. So for this, I'll rough it in with a plane. Quickly rough them out like that, get them down to approximately final height, and then I'll start flexing and tapping on the top and voicing it.
Yeah, that was my next question. Do you do any tapping or flexing as you're doing it? Obviously you do then, right?
Yeah, our approach is pretty intuitive. We're not terribly scientific about anything. We use our ears, which after all is what matters in the final product as well.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll get in there and flex it to check its stiffness, and also tap it, find the node, and start tapping and listening to the response. As I build, I do use a frequency analyzer, but we don't build to any specific frequency. The main reason I do that is to see the complexity of frequencies and to steer it away from scale notes.
Interesting. Okay. And all of your guitars are leaving with pickups, is that correct?
Not all of them, but the majority of them. If it's a full-blown 17-inch hollow body arch top, then the customer will normally opt for a suspended pickup instead of a built-in pickup.
Right.
Most of our guitars have pickups.
Perfect. Also, Damon, do you happen to have on hand any of Bob's hand planes that you could show the viewers?
I do. I'm glad you asked. These things are great.
Yeah, these are wonderful. I have a couple in my shop here. So if you guys are not aware of the wonderful, I mean, heirloom hand planes that Bob makes. You got to get one. So check these out.
Yeah, so the plane I was just using, this is a Ibex plane, and they're great. I still use it all the time. But I used to use this for all of the carving, and a good plane especially makes a difference when you're carving maple. You know, the spruce is pretty easy. You can do that with just about anything. But this plane, I had to build a handle, as most people do. This one is just a molded plastic, so it looks pretty bad, but it gives me some leverage with my palm and reduces the strain on my hands and tendons in my arm.
Right.
So this works well. It's good for detail work. But Bob's planes are really well designed. They're beautiful. For another thing, they're made out of flamed hard maple and solid brass. They've got hawk irons in them, or blades. And these things are fantastic. I can do a back carve much quicker with this and not have any hand or arm fatigue at the end. So these are just wonderful.
And Bob hand makes those things in his shop. And if somebody wants one of those, where can they get one?
So I believe they're available through StuMac at this point. You can contact Bob as well, but I believe he's selling strictly through StuMac. You can get an idea of how efficient the plane is. It cuts beautifully. It's got a very wide throat on it, so it never gets clogged up with chips. That's one feature I like a lot about it.
Right.
And being wood, it doesn't get as hot as a brass plane or a bronze plane.
Right. Since the image is just a little bit
From
choppy.
that point, you can see it leaves fairly coarse.
Since the image is just a little bit choppy, Damon, I'm going to put myself back on the camera. I'll show it, see if I can get a close-up of the ones I have here. Here's the Bob Benedetto plane. Very nicely made. This one has the radiused sole on it, and he also makes a version with a flat sole. And I absolutely love mine. These are great planes. StuMac has them. I think you can get them also directly from Bob. But fantastic planes, and as you can see there, they work great. Go ahead, Damon, you're back on.
Okay, yeah, that's the idea. So I would rough it in with this plane. You can do finish work with it as well. You can finalize the graduation. But often, especially in the tighter areas in the cutaway, for example, I'll switch back to a finer Ibex plane, get it dialed in that much more. From that point, I go to a card scraper. I don't know if the image has caught up yet.
Actually, it has. It looks like we don't have any latency anymore. I don't know what happened, but maybe the internet got better. But yeah, it's not choppy anymore. So have at it.
Great. So at that point, I would switch to a card scraper and refine what we have from the plane. So I'm getting rid of the plane marks at this point. Obviously, I'm not quite to that point. You can still see the rough carving marks here, but I would pretty much get it finalized with the scraper and then do a light sanding with the DA sander just to knock out any scraping marks. And then it's done. That's it.
Are you able to share with us, Damon, what the thickness is when you get done?
Well, if it were the same every time, I could.
Okay. Just give us some parameters.
Yeah. So it depends on the stiffness of the material you're working with. And that doesn't necessarily tie into species either. You can find a lot of variations within any given species, whether it's European spruce like this, Sitka spruce, big leaf maple, or European maple. They all have variations within the species. So you kind of have to tailor that final thickness or graduation to the specific piece of wood you're working on. I would say that a top like this is European spruce. This is going to come out around 150 thousandths to 180 thousandths on the cheeks, on the sides over here. Mm-hmm. And down the center, it's going to be someplace around 260 to 220 thousandths down the center. And then an even graduation point outward.
Perfect. I got a couple of questions here, Damon. Let me just put them on the screen here. One is from Jonatas down there in Brazil. He says the wood seems to have some tool marks before the hand plane or the scraper. How does he remove the majority of the wood quickly or fast?
Yeah, good eye. So Bob years ago had a carving machine built, and what it is a duplicator. It's got electric motors on it and limiting switches and reversing switches. So you load the blank into it, glue it up down the center seam, load it on there. He's got a hand carved arching pattern for every inside and outside carve for every one of his models. And it's got a stylus that follows that back and forth, and it carves what it sees into the blank below. And that bulks it out about 80% of the way there. At that point, we start hand carving. And it's antiquated technology. You can do the same thing with the CNC once you have the program drawn. But it works so well that we've continued to use it. And we don't mind stopping at about 80% with the machine because of the variations in the wood that I was just talking about. You actually don't want to take it to final spec with the machine because then you don't have any control over the final response of that plate.
Right.
So we stop there, start hand carving and flexing and tapping on that plate at that point.
You mentioned CNC. Do you use any CNC at the Benedetto factory there or not?
We do, yeah. For any process where we do want exactly the same result every time, we'll use CNC. So we use it for a lot of the processes on our neck blanks. Let me grab a neck here.
Well, folks, I don't know what happened, but the latency issue went away, and so this is fantastic. Now we can see everything.
So we use CNC for a lot of processes. On the neck, for example, we'd use it to cut out the headstock shape. It also cuts the tuner holes. It cuts the back of neck. It tracks back and forth in this direction and profiles the back of neck. It also cuts a truss rod channel down the center and carbon fiber reinforcement channels next to the truss rod. We use it for most of our inlay work as well. Our logo is cut on the CNC upside down from the underside, and the pocket is cut on the CNC to match perfectly, so we can leave a thin skin of shell on the back or on the top, flip it over and inlay all of those letters at the same time, run some glue, and we're done. We sand off that skin and that's it.
Nice.
So CNC is very beneficial. Any place where we're not going to get a better result by doing it by hand, we'll let the machine do it and save our man hours for where it counts.
Right. Here comes another question. This one's from Randall, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. How many hours does it take to build the guitar?
That's a good question. That varies considerably depending on the model, and often we have so many different guitars in the works at the same time that it's really hard to track. Unless you were keeping a detailed journal, it would be pretty difficult to say exactly how many hours you have into it. For example, I may carve 2 or 3 tops and backs in one setting, and not necessarily log how long it takes for each process.
Right. Do you guys have do you have a production number that you try and hit each month or each week or something?
Our goal is to do 12 guitars a month, and we're not there right now. We're a little short-handed, so we'd like to pick that up a little bit. As a matter of fact, if you know any good final assembly guys and buffers, let me know.
There you go, guys. Anybody out there watching, if you're into final assembly and buffing, contact Damon. Perfect. All right. Have you got another demo for it? Is that it?
That's about all we have over here. We can, now that the latency is gone, we can take you on a little tour of final assembly and finish, if you'd like.
Well, let's see if that works for us. When we tried it yesterday, it didn't happen very well, but let's see if it'll work. Let's try it.
Okay. Well, first of all, since we're here, let's talk about this area a little bit. This is Bob Benedetto's personal workshop, or was until he retired. At some point in around 2010, I guess, I moved back over to this side and started taking over his responsibilities, building the high-end guitars, doing all the voicing and carving of the solid instruments. And we've left it much the same as it always was throughout Bob's career. You know, like most of us, he started out in a garage and or basement and figured out procedures and tooling that worked for him, and then pretty much stuck with it for 50 years. So this shop is basically exactly as Bob built these guitars throughout the years.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
That's right.
Wow.
There's a lot of original body molds, tooling. Rod showed you the tool wall over here with Bob's chisels. A lot of some of the fixtures that he's built over the years are now obsolete because we've moved on to different techniques and procedures. But
right,
we still use most of this stuff on a daily basis.
Wow, folks, this is a snapshot into history here. This is fantastic.
And if you want, Rod, if you want to grab the camera, we can see how
let's
this
see.
goes.
Let's see how it goes. If we start losing you, I'll holler.
Sounds good.
Here we go, folks. A tour of the Benedetto workshop in Savannah, Georgia.
So this is our final assembly department. There's nobody in here right now because we're shorthanded, as I mentioned, but Rodrigo has been splitting his time between whitewood construction and final assembly. So next week he'll probably be back over here building out some of these instruments. These ones are leveled and buffed and ready to go, so they're ready for assembly. We've got a Bambino Deluxe.
Wow.
The flame top.
What are you using for finishes these days?
We're using nitro lacquer.
Okay.
Here's a Bravo Deluxe with flame maple backsides and neck and a spruce top. This is a laminate instrument, though the sides are solid.
Okay.
Here's a chambered solid body electric guitar. This is our Pat Martino model.
Beautiful.
Same thing here. This one is a custom Manhattan, so this is a big 17-inch guitar. This one has wooden binding on it. It's got koa binding. And it's going to get a suspended pickup with volume and tone thumb wheels under the finger rest.
That's gorgeous. Do you have a dedicated finisher, or you have your hand in that as well, Damon?
I don't do much of the finishing. We do have a dedicated finisher. Our master finisher is Larry Perkins, who's been with us for a number of years and came from Heritage Guitars before that.
Right.
And the guy working under him is John, who's becoming an excellent finisher himself.
Yeah, he's doing beautiful work.
And we can take you over to the finish area. We'll see if the service holds out here.
Sure, let's try it. Folks, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box there. I'll be happy to feed them to Damon and Rodrigo for you. Rodrigo, you make an excellent cameraman.
Yeah, try my best.
Here's our buffing department. We've got pedestal buffers loaded with various grits of buffing compound. Here's Howard Paul. We're on a live stream here, Howard.
All right.
This is Howard Paul, our president and CEO.
Howard, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, it's Robbie O'Brien. How you doing, man?
Good to see you, Robbie, or at least the back of the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for letting us invade your production schedule here today.
Thanks for visiting Benedetto.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Howard. This section of the shop, we have about 9,000 square feet here. This section of the shop is for finishing. So this is a display wall that has an example of most of the standard colors we offer. When customers come through, they can take a look at that and pick out their favorite. Here's John and Larry, our finishers, working away.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
We're on a live stream with Robbie O'Brien, so we're showing him around the shop.
Doing a fantastic job, guys.
In here is the clean portion of the finishing area. So we've got a hanging room here where we can hang the guitars between coats and after the last coat for 2 weeks. These guitars are just in their drying cycle, so they're gassing off and getting hard enough that we can do the final level sanding, the wet sanding, and the buffing.
Beautiful.
we have our spray booths. We've got 2 booths, one for clear and one for color, just so that we don't contaminate the clear coats with color.
Right. Oops, I think we're starting to lose you with the latency issues. Starting to come back. Yep, we lost you now. You're starting to get too far away from the Wi-Fi.
And various guitars in the works, so all the different colors, as you can see, in various stages of production.
Yep.
With nitro lacquer, you have to build up a lot of coats, and we sand at 3 different times throughout the finishing process.
Damon, we've lost the video. We've lost the video feed, Damon.
Finish. It's very nice and flat, so no step at the binding channel, and just a perfectly level finish.
Damon, we're starting to lose the video feed. I think you have to head back closer to the Wi-Fi.
And that's probably about as far back into the shop as we can get. We tried the Whitewood construction area yesterday, and the Wi-Fi didn't hold up for it. So
Yeah, it's not doing
we can take
good.
you into the showroom if you'd like, if you have time, Robbie.
Sure, let's try and hit the showroom and see if the latency issue goes away. Let's try it.
I think so. Hey, Robbie.
Yes,
Robbie, you still there?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, the camera.
I can hear.
Work
I
going
can.
out.
I can hear you guys, but we're getting farther away from the Wi-Fi. So let's head back to the Wi-Fi. Yep. Now we lost them all together, guys. They're going to try and dial back in. We thought this might happen because the farther you get away from the Wi-Fi. So here they are dialing back in. Let's see if we can bring them back in. There we go.
we
You're
are
back,
back.
Damon.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. As we got into the spray booth, I started to lose you a little bit there, but I think we got enough of it that we can understand what's going on. So thanks for the tour.
Absolutely, we can take you to the showroom if you have time. If not,
Well,
that's
yeah, let's see if the internet will cooperate here. Let's try it.
okay. Here's 50 years, 55 years of Benedetto history, mostly logged by Cindy Benedetto. She served as customer relations and accountant and photographer for Benedetto Guitars for a long time. So.
A lot of history there. There
Here
we go.
have Howard's office / the Benedetto showroom. So we've got
There you
an
go.
example of most of our models on the wall here.
Wow. Beautiful instruments. How many of those are Howard's personal instruments?
Well, he considers them all his babies, I think. When we needed a place to put the showroom, he was quick to offer his office.
I bet, yeah. Wow, look at that. Well, I'd love to have an office like that. A lot of inspiration going on there.
Right? This we built as a tribute to the 100th anniversary of Lloyd Lohr's L5. So Bob and I collaborated on this one. He did the voicing of the top and back, and carving, bracing, then sent it back to us, and we put the binding on, carved the final recurve, and put a finish on it, and got it strung up. So this is our Sinfonietta model. This is one of the few examples of our guitars that don't have a pickup on them, so this is purely acoustic.
Right. Boy, that's absolutely gorgeous. Very nice. All right. Looks like we got the latency issue back again.
Yeah, it froze again.
Yeah, we froze again. So it's about time to wrap it up anyway. If you want to start walking back towards the better signal there for your Wi-Fi. Yep. And we lost them again. That's all right. I'm sure they'll be back. It's about time for us to do our drawing anyway. So if anybody has any last questions or something, now's the time. If you got a quick question or something, I can perhaps go ahead and feed it to them before they dial back in, or as soon as they dial back in. If you want to be part of the drawing, we're going to do it now. Go ahead and click on that link. put your name and your email address in real quick, and I'll give you just a couple seconds to do that. Right now I'm showing 44 participants for the drawing. You must be a U.S. resident to receive the prize. And there they are back. There, we're back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi, but
That's okay. I was just telling people it's probably time to go ahead and do the drawing anyway. So
Sure.
I'm gonna get myself back on the screen here. I'll be right back to you guys in a second. Let me just click refresh. We've got now 45 participants. Once again, this drawing is for a signed hat from the master himself, Mr. Bob Benedetto. So I'm going to pull up my iPad. Let's see. We now have 47 participants. I'm going to go ahead and do the drawing. Here we go. Clicking start.
Oh,
And it is number 36, Ken Mulvihill. Ken is actually a student of mine, or was a student of mine, way back when I taught the college course here in Colorado. So congratulations to Ken for winning that. Now this is completely random drawing. It's a random generator here in the iPad, so I had nothing to do with that. But congratulations to Ken. I will send Ken's information down to Cesar. Cesar will find out what we need to do on our end, and then I'll send it to you, Damon, and you can get the information to Bob and send it out.
perfect. That sounds good.
Yeah, thank you so much to Rodrigo Gomes and to Damon here, the production manager at Benedetto Guitars. Big round of applause. Thank you for spending the time with us and let us interrupt your workflow. I really greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody's benefited from it. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it, Robbie.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, over and out, guys. I'm going to play the outro. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Happy building.
Yeah, I turned on my. Wow.